Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Waffle Press Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Gina Versa. Gene, how are you in this week of May? It is still May at the time of release of this.
I am doing pretty good. This movie was an interesting way to spend my time, so feeling good, all things considered.
Yeah, we're going to take the wins as we can get them. And if you notice the title, this is not an ordinary Hangouts. We are specifically talking about the 1989 film The Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren. And we're doing this because on our Patreon, we have a section for the $15 tier where you can recommend a movie and we'll talk about it on the podcast. Now, it could be me and Gene. It could be Gene and someone else. It could be me bringing back Matt, forcing him to talk about more movies. We could have guests on. Help us out. We'll help you out by contributing to the discourse, I guess. I don't know. The recommendations we've gotten on the Patreon are actually I'm actually eager to get to the rest of them. No comment about the quality of this film yet. But Gene, when did you first hear about the 1989 Punisher film?
Probably early 2000s. Had a Marvel book on all the decades of Marvel, and they were talking about that Punisher thing, and there was always stills from it. So I don't know. It was always around. I just never had any desire to see it.
I kind of figured this would be like a 1990s Captain America film, which is like notoriously like legendary in its awfulness, right? And I would say that the 1989 Punisher film, directed by Mark Goldblatt, and I'll have some more information on him in a second, is not bad. I actually kind of liked it for what it was. It was produced by... Hang on, let me find that. It's produced by New World Pictures and distributed by New World International. And a friend of the show, Billy Jarrett, had mentioned that they're basically like a classier Canon Pictures. And that's like the perfect description for this kind of movie. Because I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but I enjoyed watching it. And I would own it. I would pay money to keep this in my life. And I might revisit it in the future. Not anytime soon, but I don't know. What did you think about The Punisher, Gene?
I think it was certainly an interesting movie. I don't know if it's good. I don't think I really enjoyed it too much. It has some interesting things. Can't take that away from it. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed really all over the place. With ninjas and storylines on kidnapped children. And yeah, it's very, very 80s. But no, I don't know. I just thought it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about here. But I do think it's worth checking out as kind of like the same reason I'd recommend Batman Forever to people. I like that movie, but I think it's an interesting time capsule of a bygone film era, you know? And, when they say they don't make them like this anymore, that doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. But they really don't make them like this anymore. It is very, sleazy. It's very dirty, and I kind of liked that aspect of it. I liked how rough and tumble it was. Are you familiar with the director Mark Goldblatt?
I was just kind of looking at his stuff on Letterboxd. It just seems like he's an editor now.
Yeah, he's mostly an editor, even prior to directing this. He edited Piranha for Joe Dante, The Howling, also for Joe Dante. Check this out. Halloween 2 for Rick Rosenthal and John Carpenter. James Cameron's The Terminator, Commando, First Blood, Part 2. And then check out this run. This is crazy. From 1987 to 1993. RoboCop, Dead Heat, The Punisher, which he's director only, Nightbreed, Predator 2, Terminator 2, The Last Boy Scout, Universal Soldier, Super Mario Brothers, Tombstone, and 1994 is True Lies. And and then this is just further reading, but Showgirls in 1995, he edited The Rock, Starship Troopers, Armageddon, Detroit Rock City, and then until Hollow Man, he's basically like working on hit after hit after hit, except for True Lies and Showgirls, which were notorious like bombs financially.
They have a good cult following.
Yeah, they do have a cult following. Speaking of action movies, do you like True Lies?
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. Fun action movie. It's good. It's different than some other Cameron movies, and it's interesting to see him move away from Terminator and Aliens during that period to do something original.
Oh yeah, huh? Like apart from Terminator, this is his first original film outside of like The Abyss. Weird. We'll talk about James Cameron more in the future because those Avatar movies are finally coming out like in the next 2 years. So
the only thing filming right now.
Oh yeah, huh? Old James Cameron, he's gonna like find the cure for the virus before like anyone else at this point. It's just like crazy.
Maybe he already has.
Oh, and then yeah, I guess he could have. And then he's just like holding on to it, and he's like, "I give you the cure, but you need to finance the next 2 Avatar sequels." Or I'm letting the world burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mark Goldblatt, he's a pretty reliable film editor, director. I think he's fine. I think oddly enough, the big problem in this movie is the editing. Like just like the geography of the action. It's not really like a modern problem that we run into, but it's just very hard to follow. At times, I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, it was. It seemed like a lot of the movie was really like re-edited and mangled with.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's funky. They're having trouble with these Punisher films, and then the one I think is genuinely good was like also a box office bomb in 2008, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. I don't really like any of the Punisher films.
Warzone. We got to reclaim that. I really like that one.
I don't really care for Warzone either. I don't know, that movie. It's too much of a cartoon.
But that's why it's awesome. I think like I think this one can't decide if it wants to be a cartoon or if it's just like stone-faced serious action movie.
It's like 3 Punisher movies. I will say. I kind of like the Tom Jane one, but I just like him as the Punisher.
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's my personal favorite Punisher. It's just that movie's just not that great.
Yeah, the movie lets him down, but he elevates it, honestly. I just want my kids back.
He just wants his kids back, you know?
Fun scene with the Russian in that film, though. Like, that scene, like Tom Jane elevates the entire, like, production. Like, that's genuinely fun.
Yeah.
And I wish this Punisher had sequences that were that fun. Because I think the action is, like, competent if edited to, like, bits and pieces. But there's no, like, standout sequence that I'm walking away from here with, you know?
Yeah. I did like that one fight with the ninjas that was red. See a lot of red?
The one in the, like, amusement park area?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you know what? That was fun. Not like a huge, like, standout sequence, but probably, I guess, the one of the film at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't take that away from them.
Yeah, I guess not. What are your thoughts on this as a Punisher film? Because I guess everyone kind of likes to hear about this. I think as a film, it's got its own strengths and weaknesses. But as an adaptation, because I know you're a big adaptations guy, specifically with superhero stuff, so I'm interested in what you think this film succeeds or fails at as an adaptation of Frank Castle.
Yeah, I think it really does fail as an adaptation of that character because they removed the one of the key aspects, which is and they totally have it in the time period too that they could get away with it. He's supposed to be a Vietnam veteran, and I think that's supposed to be the key thing of the character, where society has kind of failed him. He's supposed to kind of be the soldier where, he's fighting, this war that messed him up. Life left him with a lot of post-traumatic stress, and the movie's just a police detective, which I don't think he really ever I don't think he ever becomes any sort of police at any point. Maybe just in one continuity, but yeah, it's just that's just such a key thing of that character is just he really represents this kind of this because he's a bit sympathetic, but he's certainly not a good person. I mean, he kills people, but there is some sort of nobility to him almost. But like I was gonna say, all the people, all the you see like cop cars with the Punisher logos. It's like I think the creator has like went out and said that you're not supposed to do that because he doesn't like support anything. So yeah, it's he's just kind of that's a key thing to his character.
Yeah, I think given the time period, it does lose a little something by not making him a war veteran. But I gotta be honest, I wasn't too bothered by it making him a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really liked the former partner, right? Jake Berkowitz, played by Louis Gossett Jr.,
mm-hmm.
who Waffle Press people would know as one of the owner of the park in Jaws 3D.
Yeah.
A very, very good actor, and I think he's actually very good in this too. I like the relationship between those characters, and he still does the Punisher. Speaking of, it does basically rebuke like all forms of like authority and law, and I liked that aspect. But the film is very conflicted in like determining how far he'll go, or like what. Like, is he supposed to be like a softie because he lost his family, so that's why he's protecting the kids? Or is he like really hardened and doesn't care about anyone? I think the film is a little confused given some scenes, like with his buddy. I did like his drunk buddy, though. I gotta be honest. And I think what kind of won me over in this film in general is that it's a very simple premise done ridiculously complex. Like, even when he's luring his alcoholic buddy out for information from the bar that he just got kicked out of, he lures him into an alley with an RV car that has a bottle of wine in the back of it.
Yeah, that was just brilliant.
That's ridiculous. Like, I just like that image exists in a Punisher film, I probably would have been like, hey guys, we don't need to do it that way. This is dumb. But I like that it's there at least. Let's see what else. Oh, okay. And I like that he's basically a Ninja Turtle in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say he lives in the sewers like the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Was the Ninja Turtle movie before this or after? It was a 90, right? That was 1990?
Yeah, it would have been like right after.
Okay. Oh, wow. So the Ninja Turtles ripped off the Punisher movie that no one saw.
They kind of look similar. Maybe they filmed in the same sewer.
Oh, maybe. Oh, fun fact. This was filmed in Australia, and to the point where even Nicole Kidman was initially cast as, what's the character's name? Shoot, the partner to Louis Gossett Jr.'s character. I believe Nancy Everhard?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know what the reasons were, but she dropped out and was recast. Probably some like conflict in the schedule or something, because I think that's when she started blowing up as an actress too.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, this never got released in the United States until 1991. But even then, I believe it was not. It was not well received. This is not a well received film. It's rocking like 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't know. Rotten Tomatoes, you know how we feel about Rotten Tomatoes, but like, if we have to go by that aggregator, I think that's a little low for this. I don't think it's that bad. I've seen worse stuff like this last year alone, and I've seen like 8 movies in theaters.
Yeah. Yeah. probably at the bottom.
I think I like him more than the Tom Jane one. Apart from Tom Jane, who is excellent. And that cast I actually like a lot. Even John Travolta, who is like a genuine crazy person.
Yeah.
I like the cast in that a lot.
He's a saint.
Literally, he's the saint in that film. Like, what's his name? Howard Saint, I believe.
I don't know why that movie is in Florida.
I don't know. I kind of appreciate it, though. You know why? Because it feels different now. Now that everything's always in New York City. Like, remember Iron Man moved to Malibu in his film adaptation because they were like, we don't want to stalk everyone in New York City. And then they ended up doing that anyways. Like, I don't know. I'd be kind of down with the Punisher reboot in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, like Daredevil in, like, Chicago, you know? Or San Francisco, which he did go to in the comics eventually. So I guess we should talk about the plot of this film 17 minutes into recording. The Punisher has been active for 5 years. Frank Castle is believed dead and certified dead according to the local police department. And his ex-partner is hunting for remains of Frank Castle because he believes that he is the Punisher, although he is trying to keep that out of the public eye. And in the last 5 years, the Punisher has killed a reported 125 criminals, hunting down the people who killed his family. In a very odd sequence in a flashback, the opening to this film is very oddly cut together. Now, as an editor, Gene, a professional editor, what went wrong here?
In that opening sequence?
Yeah.
In the opening thing, it's just like, I kind of like the little opening credits.
Oh, no. Okay, the opening credits I liked a lot, actually.
Go to bat for that. Yeah, it's just like, it's giving like a lot of like information and, information and just like very haphazardly. It's not just about the Punisher. It's about, I don't know, the detective and some other people. It should slowly just focus on him. So yeah, it's just all over the place. It's just not about one sort of thing. It's about a bunch of things.
Yeah, and it's like the film recognizes that we need the information, but you're right. It doesn't dole it out to us. It's just like, here it is. Take it or leave it. And that's kind of it. But after that, even with all like the weird wackiness that ensues, I don't want to get too much into the ending because I do recognize not a lot of people have seen this, and I would recommend it, oddly enough. But I just want to say that I think the film, though it is a little tonally confused at times, can't really determine how it wants to present the Punisher other than a Dolph Lundgren vehicle. I think Dolph Lundgren's actually quite good as the Punisher, and I would have watched a sequel. I think it found its weird rhythm, at least, like I'm not going to forget this movie for a little while, at least, it's not super memorable, but I'm glad I caught it for this. And I want to give a shout out to Andrew Levine, who recommended this to us on Patreon, because this was a delight to watch for the first time. For me, I recognize that might not be a universal thing.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to see adaptations in different eras because it's just the way the source material is. I don't know, they kind of don't care because we've seen the 70s Spider-Man. That one was out there. Well, they had all this like weird, and that one had ninjas too.
Yeah, what the hell is with the ninjas?
I don't know. But yeah, it's just it's so this it's just so baffling that just kind of, I don't know, it seems like they kind of just didn't care when they were adapting comics. Like, it's so if you look at just all the crazy 80s and 90s, like that Roger Corman Fantastic Four, or just like there was a cartoon that didn't even have the Human Torch or the Fantastic Four. They just leave a lot out, it's just like just the way they handle these characters is just so it's so crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I wonder what like determined that, because in the Twitter thread that I'll get to, because some people had some thoughts on this film as well, some followers of ours, thankfully, and you were mentioning that like they didn't even have like the Punisher skull like on this. Now I don't think it's like a huge deal breaker or anything like that. but it is odd. Like, just why not? You know,
The thing that was odd, like they went out of their way to dye his hair because Dolph Lundgren was blonde, so they had to have seen the comic and known that he had, this doesn't look. They could have just kept the blonde hair, like it wouldn't have mattered, but they were like, no, let's dye it. And yeah, the Punisher skull is just kind of, that was like another thing too. Like it's not that hard to put on. You could just, like spray paint it. I think that's how it's done in the Daredevil series. But yeah, I don't know, like stuff like that kind of drives me crazy because it's like the I don't know, just ignoring the iconography of the characters, like kind of bugged me that like in season 2 of Punisher he never really wears his costume. It's just kind of like they're so larger than life. It's just like, why not? If you're adapting these characters, like let them wear their symbols.
Yeah, I agree with that. Generally, I think we've had an interesting discussion about this. Like in Daredevil season 3, after finally getting a costume for an entire season for one of their characters, they toss it out again. But it's at least like relevant to the story there. Like there's a point there versus like them just being shy.
Yeah. It made like a point story wise for sure.
Some quick responses to the Waffle Press Twitter prompt about this film. People did remember this generally. At Dawson E. Joyce says this is the second best Punisher movie, and a shout out and congratulations to Dawson for just graduating college right now. So Dawson, congratulations. And Andrew Levine, who of course recommended this to us, said it's an underrated B-action movie with a nice balance of seriousness with comic book nonsense and surprisingly decent filming with stuff like the colorful credits montage, which we did highlight. That credits montage I really, really liked. It reminds me of like Batman 66. So when this started, I was like, oh, did they do it? Like, is this like a total hidden gem that I'm about to discover? Not really, but it's a nice little treat for someone like me who likes a healthy dose of garbage with their stuff. Because it is trash. It is a little trash, but like, if you're in the mood for it, I think it could do a lot worse. And at Billy Jarrett, who I also mentioned earlier, said, this is the full quote, "Movie fucks," end quote. I don't agree with that entirely, but like, this is fine. And then our pal, PJ Campbell, owns it and said that there are 3 separate versions of this film that exist out in the world. I know nothing else. That was the last thing he messaged me. And he just left me hanging before this recording. I think he's helping out with Schmodown or something right now, so he's a little busy. But like, so just, I guess I'll leave that with the listeners. There are 3 separate versions of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher film out there in the world somewhere. I don't know what to do with that information now. Yeah, it's like Blade Runner. Each version is going to be like marginally different, but not really. Maybe it'll be like an Alien 3 thing where there's like an extra half hour and it just completely changes the film. Speaking of extended cuts, I don't know. This might get cut, but do you want to just focus the next Hangouts episode on extended cuts, and then we could just kind of tee it up? I know. Okay, and then we could figure out a guest after that. I think maybe I'll ask Richard again because I know he's got a lot to say about the Snyder Cut stuff too. So that'll get us the clicks too, But we'll work that out after. So I'll just tee that up and then we can wrap up on the Punisher unless you have more to say. Okay. So next time on Hangouts, we'll be talking about extended cuts of, I guess not even like cult classic films, just like films in general. There's a lot. Ridley Scott's notorious for them. James Cameron's done a couple. I might have something negative to say about that though. But on the positive side, Alien 3, of course, which is my go-to baby. And as at the time of recording, obviously we just found out about the Snyder Cut. So we're not really a news podcast, like we've discussed many times again. We just, who cares? We're not insiders. We're not trying to become a news site. We're just here to talk about movies. But this is pretty big because we've always kind of joked about it along with everyone else on the internet, and it turns out they're actually going to finish it. So positives and negatives we'll have to talk about next time on the Hangout, and we'll talk about our favorite extended cuts, director cuts, assembly cuts, all the cuts. All the cuts are coming. More cuts than Frank Castle versus those ninjas in that weird funhouse warehouse. So that's next week on the Hangouts. Gene, any final thoughts on The Punisher from 1989?
No, not really. It's a movie. Yeah, it's just very like I was just surprised just how this gets made.
Yeah, really. They would never just like shovel out one of these superhero movies like this ever again. Like they're always going to be like the biggest thing coming out of whatever week they come out. Like even like the notoriously bad ones, like even something like Morbius. When theaters get opened again, even Morbius is going to be like number one at the box office unless something drastically changes for the better in society. But well, that's enough shade for that for now. Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, everyone. Anyways, I guess the last thing I want to leave off with is that the last time this premiered around our neck of the woods, Gene, was April 2009. Mark Goldblatt's own personal 35mm print at the New Beverly Theater. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And Nicole Kidman being initially cast in this means that she would have co-starred with Dolph Lundgren in 2 superhero films had this panned out. Because Aquaman, Waffle Press favorite.
Some alternate universe.
Yeah, they would have been hopping between Marvel and DC stuff, like J.J. Abrams between Star Wars and Star Trek. So, yeah, Punisher. I recommend it. Softball. Maybe have a beer or two with it, or just it's not like so bad you'll enjoy it. Just like check it out. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting artifact from a different time. And thank you again, Andrew Levine, for recommending that to us. And next time we'll talk about extended cuts. And after that, we'll return to another Patreon request. We don't know what it is yet because we're taking this 1 week at a time. So, Gene, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Where can the people find you?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram, Gene9892.
You can find me at Twitter and No, don't find me on Instagram. That's my privacy. Find me on Twitter as well at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon. Where, again, you can recommend us stuff to listen to and watch and all that jazz, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, they could probably find you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not going to, stop you. I don't know. I just post pictures of shit, so I don't engage with anyone on there anymore. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.